I'm gonna show you really quick how to make my homemade miracle sauce. I call it miracle sauce, salsa, whatever you wanna call it. So first we start with a bunch of spinach, a bunch. Fill it full. Now, we're gonna chop this up before we add our tomatoes, but you kind of want to chop the spinach with the green onions at the same time. I'm making a pretty big batch here, so I'm just gonna kind of, these are pre-washed green onions. I'm just gonna peel the outside layer off where it needs. And because this is going in the food processor, you don't have to chop these green onions very fine. Same when we put the tomatoes in. You don't have to chop them very fine because they're gonna go through the food processor. So I've got them in about 1-inch pieces here. 1 to 2 inch, I guess. All right, so we're gonna start with that. Put our lid on. Now, we will need to add a little bit of olive oil to help it mix in as it goes. So I'm gonna put it underneath. There we go. So just enough olive oil to really get it cooking, or get it blended. Now, you know what? It'll blend up more. It could blend up a little more, but now I'm gonna chop some tomatoes and add tomatoes to it. So just like quartered, I just cut the top off. We're gonna quarter them because we're gonna blend it up pretty well. This is the best with fresh garden tomatoes, or if you can get them like this on the vine, they will have the best flavor. Roma tomatoes are also really good for this salsa. Roma tomatoes have really good flavor. If worse comes to worse and you don't have any, you can use stewed tomatoes. I just always try to get the kind of stewed tomatoes that the canned stewed tomatoes or diced tomatoes. I just try to get ones that have as much flavor in them as possible. So like ones that have Italian seasonings or garlic and basil, something like that. In there. All right, this is getting pretty full, so I'm gonna mix it up before I add more. All right, now you can chop this as thin or as chunky or as fine as you like. I like a really fine salsa, because I love the fresh tomato flavor more than I do the chunks. So we're gonna puree ours pretty fine. That's how I prefer it. If you start to run out of space in your food processor, like I am now, you can always dump this into a bowl, get it as smooth or as chunky as you like, put it in a bowl, and then keep processing, and then just mix them all together. Because at that point, you just be mixing by hand. that's what I'm gonna have to do because this is getting pretty full. So I'm just gonna transfer the salsa over to a bowl so that I can keep making more and not run out of room. Smells awesome. Love it. Put that on there. This is, I'm gonna go ahead and add this in this second batch. This is just parsley. I prefer parsley over cilantro, personally. You can use cilantro if you really like the flavor of cilantro. Like I said, I just prefer parsley, and parsley is one of the top 10 most healthy things for you to eat. I created this recipe probably about 15 years ago when I came across a list of the 10 most healthy things for you to eat. And tomatoes were on there, and spinach was on there, and parsley was on there, and I'm trying to remember if green onions were on there. Olive oil was on there, and garlic, which I'll put in here in a second. So we've got tomato, spinach, parsley, olive oil, garlic. Maybe green onions were on there, or just onions in general. They might have been on there. Anyhow, it has a lot of very, very healthy, good for you ingredients in it. It's all fresh. So that's why I call it miracle sauce, because you can always add like peppers or jalapenos, something like that to it if you want a little more spicy sauce. I like more flavor than spice, so I don't. But definitely this is a good base. Like I said, I prefer the flavor. You can add Italian seasonings to it if you want a little more Italian kick to it. You can just kind of jazz it up however you prefer. Okay, so now that I got tomatoes in there, I'm going to add some garlic. The garlic gives it its own kind of garlicky taste. I like a lot of garlic, so I put a lot. That's probably 4 good spoonfuls of garlic, but we're making a big batch as well. Salt. Salt is another important thing to add. It will really help bring out the flavor. Add a little bit to start, and you can always add more, but you don't want to forget salt. All right, let's blend this. All right, and obviously this is more red than the first batch because we didn't have the spinach in there. But let's get our batch there. All right, I need to clean up my mess so I have workspace. Okay, so let's look at our salsa. So I'm gonna just mix this in. I just added the second one. So there we have some nice, fresh, homemade salsa. Now, if you want it to have more of a sauciness, because this is kind of watery, you could absolutely add in some tomato paste. Would help it kind of have more of a sauce, or even tomato sauce. I'm gonna try a little bit and let's see how we did. Needs more salt. Also a good, I think I'll add some tomato sauce because that'll thicken it up. It's pretty watery right now. I think I'm gonna add some tomato sauce. But that's the basics to it, to a really good, fresh miracle sauce or salsa.